Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatterspodcast1892@gmail.com.
Just a question of taste with you, well, you've gone sour. You want the world plus everything, but you won't work an hour. And now your questions are guilt creeping and you go and buy her flowers. You throw away the dreams we had, boy. I won't allow it. I said we're gonna fall out. Let's see you get out. I think we're gonna fall out. So shut your mouth.
Good evening, welcome along to the Professionals on NUFC Matters. It is a Sunday evening full of joy. Newcastle won away and broke another one of Keegan's records. That man Isak just can't stop scoring, and Tonali keeps showing his sublime qualities and class on the pitch and managed to get a goal to boot. And a few of the NUFC Matters crowd were down there as well. Big shout out to Darren, to Pablo and to Denise, who travelled down together. I hope you had a good time. Hope you got back at a reasonable time and managed to get a bit of kip before you got up this morning. But great to see. Mitch, much ado about nothing, that Bournemouth result, especially after their wonderful performance against Nottingham Forest yesterday. A 5-0 win against a team which is, certainly given it a good go in the European race, if not the title race this season. But wasn't the greatest performance this season, but it was an away win. It was a 3-1 away win. It was a penman, and another 3 points in the bag. And as my dad pointed out yesterday, that's us safe from relegation for another season.
Very true. We needed a response and we got a response. And very much like Wolves, I think we did it without exactly being at our best at times. But I think there was times we were very much at our best. And I think there was probably two critical moments in the game. Once we went 2-1 up and in the run into half-time. And then in the aftermath of going 3-1 up, when Murphy's shot at the post, I think if we'd scored at any of those times, it was pick your score. I think you could have seen us really go through the gears. If we got another before half time, I think second half could have been anything we wanted. You've got to give Southampton a little bit of credit for showing a bit of fight, but I think also it's fair to say we were a little bit sloppy in the last half hour. So, most importantly, back on track. Some fantastic individual performances again. A response to last week's bump in the road, which was very much what we needed to deliver. And on we'll go to the next.
Stu, good performance and a good win for Newcastle on the road at Southampton. Southampton, of course, looking all but down and out now when, as far as the Premier League's concerned. Give it a go, at times, but Newcastle did the job and did it professionally.
They did, and it was an even better scoreline, wasn't it, for those who did back the penman. I'm going to keep predicting 4-0 because it comes in 3-1 all the time, so I found me little angle now. But we talked about the Bournemouth game where only two people could come off the pitch and say with any credibility. Yesterday, as Mitch just said, we weren't at our very best, but we didn't have to be. It was workmanlike, but what was very good is when we conceded, although we had dominated, we conceded first, we didn't panic. and we knew we were better than them, and we did enough to get back in the game, and then a clinical finish for Isak for the second. I mean, a fantastic pass by Murphy as well. So if Darren's watching, I'm sure he'll say it was a miss kick or something, but it was a great pass. And from then on, it was cruise control, and it allowed those who I still believe we've got players there who aren't 100% fit, and it allowed them to get through the game. At least one of them got taken off to save it, which again would go back to the quality of the bench, etc. But you can't not be happy with an away win, which is the fifth away win in a row. We've had fourth in the league, so it's all positive with the result, and hopefully they'll rest well enough and get these little niggles fixed for what's going to be two very, very big home games. We've finished the weekend in fifth, which should be Champions League places. We all know after Arsenal, they've got a tougher run of fixtures, but sometimes that's when we play better anyway. You know, when everyone has to be focused. And so to summarise, I thought we did what we had to do. We did it well without doing it absolutely spectacularly. And that's a sign of a good team. So thumbs up all round, especially for the 3-1.
Who was your man of the match, Mitch, yesterday? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, mate. Tonali.
Yeah, Tonali. You?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, Tonali. And it's not going to be long before he starts getting linked with the bigger media favourites now, because they've tried it with Isak, and now they've got another world-class player there. So you just wait it won't be long before as the windows close and someone's going to put a bid in for him. The guy knows he owes us, and he's loved, and he's happy, and they're going nowhere. And I'm sure we'll cover what's with the transfer window, etc. later. But they don't like Newcastle doing well, and even when we're just playing average, we're winning. So let them link to whoever they want. We are on the up, and I think the players realise that as well, and they just need a little bit of help. But Tonali, clear man of the match.
Denise says, I thought we were a little slow at the start, but nothing too much to worry about. Once we got the penalty, we were comfortable. Scored fantastic goals, all three. Little shaky last 20, but seen at home superbly. What did you make of the VAR decisions, Mitch, in the game? Two controversial ones, according to some of the media outlets.
Well, I couldn't understand what the fuss about over the first one was. Did he play the ball? No. Did he bring Isak down? Yes. Is it in the box? Absolutely. What else is he going to give? You know, I don't see what's controversial about that at all. And the second Southampton goal, the lad was standing in a different county. It wasn't closely offside. The lad was in Northamptonshire. You know, they just want to create a narrative. It's funny how media at the minute, and it's not just in football, it's in quite a few sports at the moment, where there's a narrative builds up mainly usually from a very vocal fan base, and then the media run with it, and it becomes, you know, fiction becomes fact and rumour becomes truth. And you just got to ignore it. That's why I go on about white noise. What that pitch side reporter from Sky did yesterday, was outrageous. I know the lad's got to fill air. We know what it's like trying to fill air. God, we spout some shite sometimes. I've spouted plenty in my time. But you can't dress that up as, well, he had to say something. Well, his first words shouldn't have been about linking Isak to Arsenal when Isak's scoring a goal for Newcastle in a game that has nothing to do with Arsenal. And yet somehow, some people in the media want to give him a free pass. And I'm glad that Luke Edwards, of all people, called him out on Twitter about it, because it was outrageous. And that's, again, banging along with this narrative about openly talking about our player and trying to hoist him off to a different club for Well, again, for a transfer fee that, in my opinion, wouldn't buy his right testicle at the moment. The lad's so far ahead of every other striker in the game right now, for me, 200 million wouldn't come close. And so here we are facing yet another narrative, and as part of that narrative, controversial VAR decisions. That's we're not allowed to have nice things, are we? We're just not. And this is wrong. It's wrong, particularly when large media corporations and large media sources join in with a false narrative just because it's for clicks, likes, and shits and giggles.
Stu, I mean, it is funny. I laugh every time I hear it. Some people get really irate about it, but it's it is this kind of narrative. I mean, I did see Luke Edwards having a tete-a-tete with somebody on X. It's not unusual, that, of course, but yeah, I mean, he was right on that occasion.
Well, I can't comment because Luke Edwards blocked me after I had a debate with him, saying that Newcastle United would get taken over in 2021, and he said it would never happen.
Oh, he blocked me as well. But I can see you get on X now. You can actually see what people are posting now. And it's one of those.
No interest. You even hear him in the press conferences. Any of his press conferences, he has to be like the class clown and stuff like that. Yeah, he's just like, no, I fully seeking attention. But if he has called the fella out, then he has done right. So it's easy for me to, just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean everything they do is wrong. So I think every Arsenal fan will accept that Isak's not good at Arsenal. But it seems to be like the mainstream media, led by Sky, haven't given up on it yet. But you know why? Because there's no transfers going on. And the financial fair play, the PSR, call it whatever you want, it's crippled what used to be a very, very fruitful time for Sky, especially when it would get to the stage where there was nearly a big transfer every other day. Now you're lucky if it's a big transfer every other week in the January window, and they need to have the revenue from the advertisers. So by keep banging the same drum, if people understand why they're doing it, then it makes sense. But it is tiresome. But again, imagine if we went back 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, we were having our best players linked with the best teams and they couldn't afford to buy them. That's where we are now. So we have to accept if we've got good players, they're going to get linked away until we take the next step up and become consistently qualifying for the Europes and winning trophies. Then we can start linking ourselves with other players. But it's no different to our fan base if we're talking about X or Twitter, talking about him when we're constantly and things like that. You know, that's disrespectful to Brentford if you want to call it as it is. But the original question was there, or what Mitch was talking about there, it's very unprofessional of someone who's meant to be independent, working for a broadcaster, constantly linking the player from one team when he's asked to comment on a game. He wasn't asked about where does he think Isak will be playing this time next year. He was asked for his feedback on the game. You know, and Arsenal shouldn't even be mentioned in it. But that's where we are at the moment, and it's changing. It's changing due to teams like us, teams like Villa, teams like Bournemouth, teams like Forest. It is slowly changing, but it's something we're just going to have to accept. So if the fella, I think he's had, they say there's no such thing as bad publicity, but I think he's found out that's not the correct saying at the moment, because he's had a lot of adverse publicity and he's took a lot of abuse for it, hasn't he? And he can't justifully explain why he did that without, I'm going to fill a couple of minutes in. We'll talk about the quality execution, talk about Tonali giving the goalkeeper the eyes and just slotting it in the other corner, talk about all the good things in the game, talk about when the two decisions that you mentioned were controversial. The only controversy for me was, why did it take so long to come up with an obvious decision? One was a clear penalty and one was blatantly offside. And that's what sort of feeds the paranoia amongst our fan base. Are they trying to find something? But it depends on how you were watching it. But when I was watching it on a legal channel, I say illegal, not illegal, a legal channel, that they were trying to say, well, it's possible that Murphy's right foot was there. I mean, look at those lines. They had at least 3 players offside, but the player in question was clearly offside. And you can spin the camera's angles around any way you want. He's still offside. It shouldn't take 3 to 4 minutes for that decision and the penalty decision. And that's what frustrates fans. And it didn't just happen in our game. You looked at the red card for for Arsenal against Wolves. Now, was that Michael Oliver helping us so he might his banned for the semi-final second leg? You don't know. But for me, the lad's trying to get the ball. He hasn't went in it with no malice whatsoever. And that's not a straight red, but that's football. They're not going to get every decision right. And as long as there is some consistency with it, we'd accept it. But unfortunately, there isn't. And that's what's the frustrating part. But I'm not bothered about reporters now linking Isak, because that's going to happen until we get him on a new contract. So a lot of it's in our doing. You know, if the people that were mentioned on Friday evening, if the board got themselves together and said, look, we are making more money, we're not going to sign an extra player, but here, there's an extra 100 grand. Sounds a lot, but it's 5 million a year. That's within the budget already. That's without selling anyone. Give it to him, sign a new contract, and it just puts all the rumours to bed. But that's too simple for me.
Going to move on from yesterday's game, although we could talk about it all night. It's another win. Lilia and Kevin in the chat, both wanting to discuss something that we'd already got our eyes on, and that is the government helping Manchester United out with a new stadium. This came from Mike Keegan on X this afternoon, and he just paraphrasing it. Omar Barada, Manchester United CEO, welcoming last night's news that the government will support the regeneration of Old Trafford. The delivery of a world-class stadium can be the catalyst for major regeneration of an area of Greater Manchester which requires new investment to thrive again. We cannot achieve that wider aim on our own, which is why we welcome the announcement by the Chancellor and the ongoing support of the Mayor of Greater Manchester and Trafford Council. If we work together, there is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to create a landmark project around Old Trafford that the whole region can be proud of. Wow, Mitch, what did he make of that?
Read the statement carefully. Manchester United over the last 2 years have been very good with misdirection in the way they phrase things. Bearing in mind there are still some Man United fans that believe Jim Ratcliffe coming in was a buyout, not a buy-in. And there's some of them still believe that Sheikh Jassim's money was real and it was a real bid all along.
Yeah, there's still.
What that statement says is that the government agree that a regeneration plan that involves a new stadium, infrastructure, housing and regeneration in that part of Manchester is a good idea, and that they back the idea. Nowhere does it say that the government are going to give Man United any money for that stadium. Man United will have to pay for it themselves still, and they'll do that by leveraging themselves even further to the hilt, no doubt. Do you know what all this statement says to me? And this, to turn it back to us, and something I've been saying about us, I have every faith that the owners in Newcastle United, when it comes to redevelopment or new ground, want to do the right thing and want to have the right idea for Newcastle United and will do all they can to make it happen. I have little faith that the partners that they need to help that happen, like the local council and like certain local politicians, are able to do that. This just tells me that Manchester have got infinitely better local politicians than Newcastle have. That they're able to organise themselves in such a way that they can go to the government and put a plan together and say, what do you think of this? And have the government say, that's a good idea. Because that's effectively all the government have said. That's a good idea. When we cannot get the money together to repaint the Tyne Bridge, which, you know, I'm going a little bit sideways there, but at the end of the day, that's all it is. There's nothing in there about Man United and get taxpayers' money for the stadium. Now, I think Premier League clubs, if this goes forward and if this regeneration plan develops into partnerships that will see a ground do development or rebuild, etc., etc. I'm sure Premier League clubs want to be all over the accounts to make sure there's no government money going to Manchester United through that in any way, shape or form. And I think it begs a wider question about regeneration in the North East and how much is the government prepared to look at regeneration in the North East if, I don't know, a potential Saudi business partner came along and wanted to do things for the city of Newcastle. I would be interested to see what the government interaction and response would be, because I'm pretty convinced that our local politicians aren't of the calibre of the ones in Manchester. There's also a degree of guilt at the moment over HS2. HS2, remember, ignored everything north of Leeds. So, for the so-called Northern Powerhouse. And the fact that that didn't go ahead. And so there's a little bit of sort of, they didn't get a fancy new train, so can we help them in another way? And so I think Man United's statement's quite clever. And they're painting a win. And there's certainly no win there. All that's happened is the government said, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's another thing which just winds supporters up, I guess, and it's following the same kind of narrative we've had in the last thing we discussed, Stu, isn't it? You know, like clickbait, maybe, you know, the way things can be put across and the way things can be put out, Stu.
Yeah, we've all laughed and smirked, not just us. I think the rest of the fans in the country, apart from Man United fans, about the gradual or even rapid demise of the once great Manchester United. You know, they just seem to like fall from one comedy to another, or crisis to another. But as Mitch has pointed out there, it didn't say the government are backing them. But what I think annoys the majority of people, it certainly annoys me, is the arrogance of Sir Jim Ratcliffe. You know, we've all seen these different interviews where his club, amongst others, should get more favourable terms. The courting of people like Lord Sebastian Coe, and it's all trying to curry favour, but it's the sheer audacity of it, isn't it? I mean, let's get this right. I mean, I'm correct us if I'm wrong, but their two majority shareholders, him and the Glazer family, are worth a combined total of over £20 billion. Right? Let's just let that sink in. That's £20,000 million. Neither of them pay UK tax, but they're asking for government backing from UK taxpayers to help build a stadium under the guise, let's get it right, under the guise of regeneration, urban regeneration in the Trafford area of Manchester. So it's, for me, if it was to be allowed, it would be corruption in plain sight, and I think there would be a huge uproar up and down the country. I don't think this Labour government, who are very capable and able of making their own errors and finding errors when there aren't errors, would do something like this. You couldn't really alienate the rest of the country, barring Man United fans, to do this. But ignore the money they've wasted over the years and the money that they have to pay every year in debts that they don't need to carry debts because they're wealthy enough to have it paid off. They just don't want to put their own money in, but they're happy to take their own money out. So it's quite similar to me and Mitch, who are already booked up, paid up, long weekend in London in March. Don't know what's going to be happening around the middle of March in London, but we're going over for 3 days. It's like us lobbying the government to say, can they pay for all our drinks for those 3 days? And we'll do it under the guise of helping the service industry in the southeast. You know, that's what we'll do. We'll just boost the service industry. It'll probably be cheaper for them to build a stadium anyway. But it's like and expecting them to do it and expecting people to accept it. You know, and that's the most frustrating part. I mean, Jim Ratcliffe is wealthy in his own right, and people say, he doesn't have to put his own money in. Well, he did to buy the club. He doesn't have to be involved with them. The Glazers have led that club for so long. And if that's how they want to run it, let them get on with it. But now it comes to the fore when all of a sudden the PSR is starting to constrain them, and now they can't just go out and spend $250 million every transfer window and use all the money that they accrue from around the world, because it'll catch up with them. Mismanagement always does. And this is at the stage now, and we've all seen the letter that they sent to one of their not the supporters trust, but one of their fan clubs, I suppose. It's a bit like our NUFC. They were trying to explain that the 300 million in debt over 3 years. Sorry, is it not 105 is meant to be the limit? So there could be very shortly a tinkering of the rules, or that's. I mean, I can't read that from here, but
I'll read it out because there's a few people probably don't know, and it's quite a short letter. It just says, "Dear the 1958 and Fan Coalition 58, thanks for your letters received by Omar Barada and Rick McGar. We agree that our fans are what makes Manchester United the greatest football club in the world. We greatly value and appreciate the loyalty and passion of our fans have for the club and the difference this makes to the team. We are determined to ensure that our current fans can continue to afford to attend games and that tickets are accessible for future generations of fans. As previously communicated, we are, however, currently making a significant loss each year, totaling over £300 million in the past 3 years. This is not sustainable, and if we don't act now, we're in danger of failing to comply with PSR and FFP requirements in future years and significantly impacting our ability to compete on the pitch. We will get back to a cash positive position as soon as possible, and we will have to make some difficult choices to get there. That has included a significant reduction to our workforce, as well as cuts across many areas of spend across our club. None of this has been easy, but we believe it is essential to restoring financial sustainability to the club, which will underpin us as we work to get back to the top of the English and European football. We do not expect fans to make up all the current shortfall, but we do need to look at our ticketing strategy to ensure we are charging the right amount and offering the right discounts across our products for fans. We have committed to formal consultation with our Fans Advisory Board, FAB, sound familiar, about this, who will challenge and help shape proposals which will then be decided upon by ownership group. The FAB isn't a decision-making body, it is advisory, but we are committed to collaboratively working together to help us to come to the best outcome for fans and for the club. Once we have an approved strategy and pricing policy for the 25-26 season, we will communicate the details to all fans. At this time, no decisions have been taken and the process of consultation is beginning. Until we have an outcome, we will not be commenting further regarding what may or may not change for next season. However, we will share the views you have expressed in your letter to the FAB ahead of our discussions and confirm we understand clearly your views. Finally, we're always happy to listen to fan-led ideas about ways to grow revenue, so please do share any thoughts you have on this. Best wishes and thank you for sharing your views on this important matter. Kind regards, Manchester United. So there you go. That's the letter in full. What were you going to say about it, Stu?
The key thing was about the Fans Advisory Board saying that they don't have a say. So the whole of that letter was just lip service saying, well, we'll sit down, you can have your bit, but we don't need to listen to you, and you've got no say in the outcome anyway. So that's just ticking boxes and fulfilling what they have to do with the FSA. They need to speak to Fans Advisory Board about these decisions, but they don't have to act on what's recommended by the fans. And I'm trying not to use my favourite 3 words, but if I say the first 2, I'm sure you'll guess the last one. But it's just a pile of big dogs. You can work the rest of it. So for me, it's quite clear that it's all, again, it's this PR machine going around. Oh, we really are trying, but we're in debt. You're in debt because you've wasted money. You're in debt because you don't manage your own finances when you can afford to. It's been mismanagement for best part of 2 decades, and now they've got the begging bowl out saying, oh, woe is me. Well, they've brought it on themselves. Imagine we had wasted money like that. We've spent very, very well in the transfer windows. We've actually spent money, and they haven't. They're still living off past glories, still thinking they're a bigger team than what they are. And until they actually have a reality check and accept that they're a mid-table team now, they'll never, ever get better because they don't have a forward plan. It's just get rid of someone, bring a new manager in, give them money to spend, don't give them time to use it, and rinse and repeat. Now, had they done the same with Alex Ferguson, they wouldn't have had as many fans as they got anyway globally, because that's how it kicked off, isn't it? He was one game away from losing his job. But for me, Manchester United, I don't want to say it's an irrelevance because that would be disrespectful. They are still the biggest club in Britain, but that's just supporters-wise. And credit to them, I think, when they play away from home, they do have fantastic fans. But their ground has become, apart from a waterfall, it has just become a tourist attraction. And I know there'll be people watching this saying, I hope ours doesn't come like that. I'm sure it won't. I'm sure there'll be sections covered for that, but that's another debate for another time. That letter, again, as I said, was just lip service, and they're trying to, it's a PR stunt. They're desperate, they're struggling to keep their heads above water, and they're looking for excuses to why they haven't acted, when it just goes back to the one word I've probably said about 5 times, is mismanagement, and it's their own fault. So unless they want to play with different rules to everyone else, which Ratcliffe does, they have to accept where they are. And until they accept that they're not as good as they think they are, they won't get any better, and let that continue, because they can have their big, shiny new 90,000 stadium, but it won't get filled, because the way football is supported globally, there'll be new generations of fans following new teams. And that's how Chelsea have managed to attract a lot of external money. That's how Man City have attracted a lot of external money. And hopefully we'll be the next cab off the rank, because Manchester United, who wants to be associated with someone that used to be good, you want to be associated with people who are good and are going to get better. It's a sliding doors moment, isn't it? I genuinely believe we are past them. I don't think they'll finish above us. I would say for at least the next 10 years. And I imagine saying that for the next 10 years, I cannot see Manchester United finishing above Newcastle United. And that's with all the financial head start they have got, but due to their own mismanagement, they're finished. Let them crack on, let them drown in their own self-pity, because they've created it themselves. So that's it.
Mitch, Kevin says, can someone explain to me, on their own admission, they have lost 300 million over 3 years. He says, can someone explain to me, what am I missing?
The simple answer is not all of those losses are in areas that are covered by PSR. If you add to that, then they were given exceptional COVID relief, not just extraordinary, but actually extraordinarily exceptional COVID relief, and other rather spurious, in my opinion, areas where they could, given with extra wiggle room in PSR, things like the exchange rate fluctuations during the buy-in. So that's the simple answer. As ever, PSR is not as straightforward as that, and not everything in the accounts are covered by PSR, and so and that's how Chelsea get away with things, is they're very, very good at clever accounting, and that's how that works, unfortunately. But for them to admit that pips are squeaking is quite a significant thing, I would suggest.
Yeah, well, Mitch, Chelsea, although through clever accounting, they've got owners who are willing to spend the money. And this guy's come in, he's like the Scrooge of the Scrooges, isn't he? He spent his money and thinks, right, okay, now I'm in Man United, I'm entitled to get everything back. And it's as if he wants an instant return on his money. Or he hasn't done his due diligence, or he's just not very good at investing in sport, as this team in France will tell you, as his sailing team will tell you, as the cycling team, which used to be the best in the world, aren't any longer. So, or a mixture of all of those. It's just the thing that annoys us, and same with everyone else, it is the sheer arrogance of not even the fans now. The fans used to be the things that were arrogant. They've now come to terms with where they are. It's the people running the club have to accept. Now, I've seen the comment there. If you look at the dividends that have been paid over the years, they could have built 2 stadiums. So you've got the money, you're taking the money out. As I said earlier, joking that it was blatantly tongue-in-cheek that the government should subsidise our venture to London. But we don't live in the UK. We don't pay taxes in the UK. We wouldn't expect it. Why should they expect it? And you can hide, as I said, under the guise of urban regeneration. Put your money down, put your 2 billion down, and maybe the government would help. Well, they're not going to buy your stadium. They're not going to build. They couldn't afford. Not they couldn't afford financially. They couldn't afford vote-wise to be seen to be paying for their stadium when it's quite clear the owners have the money.
Okay, let's move back to football matters. Barry says, Stu, can I just ask, Kieran Tierney, free transfer at the end of the season before Celtic get him? Seems nuts to me because he's way better than Target, but would give Hall genuine competition. I mean, he's always injured. He's a bit like Calvert-Lewin, who we keep getting linked with, limped off again after about 10 minutes yesterday. Tierney, could he do? You're still a fan, and do you still think he could do a job for Newcastle, Stu?
I'm still a fan. I think he's a cracking player. But as you mentioned, staying fit. But if you speak to any Arsenal fan, they rate him so highly. He came on a couple of weeks ago, and he got a rapturous round of applause. He is a big fan's favourite, but he's not an Arteta favourite. Maybe Arteta doesn't understand what he's saying. That could be part of it. But the guy is two-footed. He's a great cross to the ball. He can read the game well. And for us now, when I was touting Tierney last year and the year before, you have to accept and understand this is before the emergence of Lewis Hall this season. And for me, Tierney would have fitted the bill for us. But it's quite clear that he'd be going back to Celtic, whether it's this window or in the summer. He's not wanted at Arsenal, but me, I would have him because if he's not playing for us, he's not going to get injured. But he'd be a more than capable deputy for Hall. And his salary wouldn't be as much as some of those who are challenging Hall for that position, if you put it that way. So even on a financial fair play thing, it would be a good decision. But I've now just come to the terms with he's not going to be signing for Newcastle. So I thank Barry for bringing it back up.
Yeah, Mark, we've discussed co-commentators a few times, mate, and Efan the Cuckoo is again. Joe Allen, I think he had a right pop at him yesterday, said he was a disgrace. But, anything to add to the Efan the Cuckoo story, lads?
Other than what he's one of three that we get on a regular basis, all of whom for different reasons. I don't know what we did to Efan the Cuckoo when he had his playing career at Wimbledon, but he obviously, somebody upset him up here in Newcastle, because he's like that every time he's on co-commentary with us. And then we have Michael Bridges, who's so desperate to deny that he has any interest in anything black and white that he starts to almost cheer for the opposition. And if we don't have him, we have Jim bloody Beglin whinging on in the background. And between the three of them, they drive you to insanity. Yesterday, the only reason that people are using the words controversial about the VAR decisions is because of the way he went on during commentary. Yeah,
100%. 1,000 of you watching tonight. Thanks very much. Quite a few watching on Twitter. Jump onto YouTube, hit the subscribe button on NUFC Matters, and we do 7 shows a week. Chris Cooper says, all right, lads, hope you're doing well. I'd love a massive shout out to Dillington Village Football Club, who my brother runs. He's a top lad. Keeps 25 lads occupied with a little help. Good luck to Dillington Football Club. Hope things are going well this season. I do miss the Sunday League, I really do. After today's results, says Lee, do the lads think Spurs are in a relegation battle? It would be fantastic to see one of the big 6 drop out of the league. So, Mitch Postecoglou, I still feel that he's probably got at least 2 more games to go. I still think they'll keep a hold of him until their fate is decided in the Carabao Cup.
Yes.
I think they'll be, unless something drastic happens. I think he's got that kind of respect in the game. I think he will get that. But I mean, at the moment, 15th place, 24 points. That third bottom place at the moment is occupied by Wolves on 16. There is a bit of a cushion there, 8 points. But are they in a relegation battle? Are we saying that Everton are but Spurs on when Everton are just a point behind?
It's a very good question. Where do you draw the line, and who do you say is dragged into it? This league table's been such a difficult one to call all season. It would be hard to say that anything's improbable at the minute. Spurs' form in the league just seems to be atrocious. Yet in the cups, because they're still in Europe as well. And there was even I saw a national opinion piece that come to us through one of the social media platforms, suggesting it could still be a fantastic year for Spurs because they could still win 2 cups. And I'm thinking, really? You're still that desperate to keep them relevant? You're going to write a national opinion piece saying that they're still in it because they could still win 2 cups this season, and it could still be a fantastic season for Ange. I think Ange's act is wearing thin now. I don't think he can mate his way out of the situations he's getting backed into now. Yes, I think you've got to give him a little bit of rope because they have had a very difficult injury period. But not too much rope because we got none of that last season. You know, we didn't get what I think the fair shake. When we had injury crisis, it was sort of swept under the carpet a little bit. So, but I do think he's been worked out, and I do think he's wearing thin on the press as well. And I think you're quite right. I think that once that fate in the Carabao Cup's known, I think that's when any decision on his future may be made. The challenge is, though, is if somebody comes in, they're of course going to want players and money, and Spurs are in that cycle of sacking a manager, bringing somebody in, and that's going to catch up with them on PSR, no matter how much money they're making a week out of league games. So where they jump next would be an interesting move for me, but I don't think anything's going to be decided until after the second leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final.
No, that's in my mind anyway, Mitch. I do think he's got that grace, but I think if they get embarrassed against Liverpool, which is possible, then I think they could. I think they could pull the trigger then. But yeah, he's looking a beaten man, pointing to injuries, but yeah, not looking good for Ange. I think any Spurs fan thinking that they're going to win 2 cups is a bit deluded. Stu, it's an interesting point. The relegation battle, you know, it looks, to be honest, as if it's between those bottom 3 and potentially Leicester, but Everton and Spurs could get dragged into it. West Ham, who are currently 1-0 down to Aston Villa as well, maybe not out of it on 26 with Man United, but you would imagine Southampton's gone. Ipswich and Wolves and Leicester are the teams who are going to be in the midst of all of this.
Well, next week Everton are playing Leicester, so that could be pretty telling. I mean, as much as we'd all revel in the excitement of one of the favoured 6 getting relegated, I don't think it'll happen. But it is pretty telling that Ange is getting. It's not the whole fan base against them. The ire seems to be cast at the chairman, who's give them the best stadium in the league and give them more money to spend than they've ever had in their history. So it's quite. I mean, I think we do enjoy the meltdown. Those who listen to like Talk Sport and that, you know, it's the entitlement. As Mitch mentioned there, we had the worst injury record in Premier League history, yet we still finished 7th. They're wallowing in self-pity at the bottom, and it's everyone else's fault. But the true sign of the manager is how our manager conducted himself last year when everything was going against us, and how their manager seems to be spitting feathers and causing arguments and wanted to really make himself what was a press darling. Now he's becoming a target for them, and he's given them far too many sound bites for column inches. So. As I've mentioned before on this show that my son supports Tottenham, and I messaged him as I was leaving work saying I'll give you a call after the game, and I got him. I didn't know the score, well I did when I called him, and I thought he wasn't going to answer, so I was just going to send him a message saying if you're not going to speak to your dad when Tottenham don't win a game, it'll be March or April before we have a chance to have a chat. But he did answer, and he was actually quite mature about it for an 18-year-old lad. And he says, look, we are where we are. And they have had injuries to crucial places, especially in defence. But for me, this is on the manager. It's not on the owner, because I think most of their managers have been backed. The owner's come in with his philosophy, same as the Man United manager has. But it's based on a high line when he's got fast defenders. And the Van de Ven and Romero were these 2 key centre-halves, and they're both injured. So what he wants the players to adapt, but he won't adapt, and that's where it seems to fall down for me. I'm not an expert in Tottenham, so from the outside looking in, it seems that he's that's stuck in his own formation. He wants to fall on his sword or take the glory. But I thought he was very clever earlier in the season when he realised things weren't going his way, when he says, I always win a trophy in my second year. And that they're still into competitions, aren't they? So even if they do get, or when they get knocked out by Liverpool, hopefully they don't for our sake. But when they do get knocked out by Liverpool, they've still got a very decent chance once the players return from injury to go very far in the Europa League. So this is the situation that they're in. But I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't sacked tomorrow. But when I said that to my boy, he says, "But who are going to get in?" I don't think he says no and Levy. They wouldn't sack him until after the window was closed anyway. So as Mitch referenced there, a new manager would want new money. But wouldn't it be delightful if someone like Sam Allardyce come in and took over them come February? Just show how much they've fallen. That's the way. So let them enjoy it and let the teams like them and Man United go or stumble from disaster to disaster as we keep their eyes, because it won't stay like that forever. And this is where we have to make hay while the sun shines, which again points to my little rant on Fridays Amigos.
Halfway through the show, time for the ads. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Contact them at their website, skipsandbins.com/contact. Visit their website, skipsandbins.com. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can contact them at their website, mrvickys.co.uk. Email info@mrvickys.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. A big thanks to United Group Travel, 2024 tour operator winner, 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. All excursions included. Website is www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. 01670 632 460 is the office number, or the mobile 0791 666 4174. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the technical side of things. Their website is media-arts.co.uk. If you want to listen to us as a podcast, you can find us on Sports Social. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you want to support the channel, hit the thumb up under the video, that's your like button. Click share to share to your other social media. Click the subscribe button and subscribe to us for free. Or click the join button. You can also check out our description under the video. You can buy us a coffee, or you can become a Patreon member. There are some events to look out for this year. An afternoon with Celeste Ferdinand takes place on the 6th of April, 12 o'clock till 4 p.m. at the O2 City Hall. Tickets for that event are from ticketmaster.co.uk. The Clooney are holding a new event called No Covers, with local bands playing songs and no covers. Chris Norris Band, Lilac Lane and Ryder are featured on the 27th of April, and that is 12 till 4. Tickets are from theclooney.com or by calling 0191 230 4474. An evening with Steve Howie and Steve Watson, hosted by Joe Allen, takes place on the 27th of June, and that is at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets from newcastlelegends.com. And an evening with John Beresford, and that one is hosted by John Gibson, 25th of July 2025 at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets from newcastlelegends.com. And the Tyne Theatre has now got the tickets on sale for January 2026 for an evening with Beardsley and Waddle. Box office is 0844 246 1000. Website tynetheatreoperahouse.tv. And if music's your thing, Bad Manners will be on at the City Hall in January 2026. Tickets are available from ticketmaster.co.uk. And we've got limited edition signed copies of the Entertainers book by 10 of the entertainers. Go to newcastlelegends.com to buy your book today. Okay, welcome back to NUFC Matters. It is the professionals. We've only got 20 of those books left. It was a great night, by the way. Those of you who came along to the entertainers at the Tyne Theatre will be able to endorse that. But some great stories, some new stories from a lot of the players as well. We did record it. We will be putting it up a bit later in the year for you to enjoy on the channel. But yes, we've got 20 of those books left. Signed by the likes of Beardsley, Rob Lee, John Beresford, Rule Fox, Steve Watson, Darren Peacock, and a few more besides. So get yourself onto the eBay link I've stuck in the chat if you want to buy one. It was great to see Will Scott as well. He managed to fly over from China for the book launch and the do. So great to see him as well. Okay, back to your questions tonight. Lee Jones again. Getting onto the transfer side of things, he says, how many of the goalkeepers does Stu and Mitch think will still be here at the start of next season? Do they think we'll have a new number one and a number two, Mitch? It was interesting yesterday because Eddie had to make the decision as well. He had to bring, he could have brought Nick Pope back in. He was on the bench yesterday, but he stuck with Dubravka, showing a bit of faith in the keeper who's come in and done a sterling job in our recent run. Do you think him and Pope will still be here?
It's a good question. Don't know. I don't know what the thinking is on goalkeepers. I don't know what anybody's thinking is on goalkeepers. Who do I think will still be here? Well, I think Rudy and Gillespie are both coming to the end of contract. And Vlachodimos, he's going to be wanting first team football, surely, somewhere. Yes. My personal feeling is a proper rethink and shake-up in the goalkeeping department isn't a bad idea. But the way things are, who bloody knows?
Would you like to see two keepers, Mitch? Would you like to see Newcastle go out and invest in a new goalkeeper in the summer? Somebody who was better than Pope and Dubravka?
Well, you want to improve your squad in every area, don't you? So, that's a no-brainer of an answer. Yes. But equally, change for change's sake, and you can have too much change, and it's such an important position. By my own admission, I've not been Dubravka's biggest fan. But, however, he deserves credit for the way he played when he come back into the team. Pope, we're well aware of Pope's limitations. However, so whoever comes in has to be better than both.
All right. Stu, thoughts on the goalkeeping situation? Lee's asking the question. He says, do you think we'll have a new 1 and 2? Or would you like a new 1 and 2 for next year?
Yes. Just there was a comment on there from Darren who clearly didn't listen to what I said. I said I'd love to play at Tottenham, but I think we'll play Liverpool. That's the comment. And just to let him know, his goddaughter's watching the show, which is my daughter. It's his goddaughter is watching the show, and she was laughing about what I said about her brother. But we're getting back to the goalkeepers. I think for starting three, or not a starting three, obviously, our top three goalkeepers, I think only one of them will be there next season. Which one, I don't know. And for me, I don't think it was a decision. It's Dubravka's shirt at the moment. If you take last week, he conceded 4 goals in one game, but which was more than he conceded in the previous 9. And the fact that he's better with his feet and can get the ball moving forward, and barring that one game, we've been far more defensively sound. It would be again, just my opinion, it would be wrong to put Pope straight back in. For me, it's quite reminiscent of that time under Steve Bruce when Dubravka was our number one, and then Darlow come in and he obviously had a lot of chances to make saves, but he was a very busy goalkeeper. But Steve Bruce didn't put Dubravka straight back in. And it was Darlow's shirt, and he had to keep performing to keep it. And as it happened, he didn't. And Dubravka got the number one jersey back. But remember, Dubravka now could be sitting in Saudi Arabia on a very, very healthy monthly salary. And he's chose to stay at Newcastle. And I'd be surprised if that wasn't without any, not guarantees, but promises of, look, you keep playing well, you're in goal. And imagine if just come the start of February they get rid of him and put Pope back in. Imagine the disharmony that would cause in the change room. Nick Pope, for me, is professional enough to understand how football works, and maybe he will get his chance at there by the time the season finishes. But as it stands, Nick Pope hasn't done anything meriting to be dropped, so why would you drop him? So the original question was, will we get a new goalkeeper? I'm very confident we'll have a new goalkeeper in between the sticks at the start of next season.
Okay, we did promise you on NUFC Matters a giveaway this month, and the giveaway is 2 tickets for Lee Clark, a pair of tickets this coming Friday at the Tyneside Irish Centre. All you've got to do to be in with a chance of winning the tickets is email us at our email address, and we have given that a few times, but I'll stick it on the screen now. nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. All you need to do is put the header in the title, Lee Clark, and your name will come up on your email, and we will be in touch with the competition winners. So that is this Friday, 7 o'clock, Tyneside Irish Centre. If you want a chance of winning those tickets, just email us Lee Clark in the header, and we will pick one at random, nufcmatters1892@gmail.com, and we will announce the winner at the end of the week. Okay, let's move on. Next questions. Darren, do the lads think all the talk about Bruno and Isak being sold in the summer because they are the best players could be mistaken? As the way Sandro Tonali is playing, he could be our number one player. And Chippers, good evening. He says, do the lads think we are more risk losing Tonali than Bruno in the summer? I mean, it's interesting. This whole PSR thing does crop up all the time. We always talk about it on here. But I genuinely think what we said on Friday's show is probably where you two will stand on this. I know that's where I certainly stand. And that is that, Newcastle have to qualify for Europe, preferably the Champions League. And I don't think we need to worry much about losing any of those players.
Absolutely. That's exactly would be my answer as well. Well, why are we worrying about this when there's so much football to be played, so many variables in place? We're back to worrying about things that we have no control over and that might happen, could happen, maybe happen. Players move on. It's part of football. We're going to have to get used to player trading. Eddie seems reluctant to let players go sometimes. But equally, he's never going to say in a press conference, he's shite and he's done, isn't he? I'll drive him to the airport myself. He's never going to come out with stuff like that. But at the same time, why are we stressing over something that we genuinely have no control over? And the best bit of control that we have is make sure we qualify for Champions League football. And everybody's going to want to stay and play for Newcastle United in the Champions League.
Stu?
Yeah, well, we're of an age where we can compare it to the Keegan era and to a lesser extent Bobby Robson's era. The players wanted to play for Newcastle, and it was a great place to be. And it's like that now. And I know we've referenced many times the grass isn't greener on the other side, but because of this financial fair play situation, we can't really control who stays and who goes to a certain extent. If it was, then we could say, right, we have a core of top quality players. They're going nowhere. We're going to everything that we promised Bruno when he signed. We're going to do this. We're going to buy these players, and that we would be where we all dreamed of us to be by now. but we're not. And we have to understand these players are human, and they want it now. We want it now, so why wouldn't the players want instant success now? But I think from the players that we do have, I couldn't see Tonali going anywhere. I couldn't see Bruno going anywhere. I couldn't see Gordon going anywhere, and I couldn't see Botman going anywhere. And if we do things right, Isak's more than happy where he is. But if we don't qualify for Europe through, I'll use the word negligence that I repeated so often on Friday, I wouldn't be totally surprised if Isak says, come on, guys, you know I'm worth more. Not financially, but for his own career. But going to a team like Arsenal, would that really be a step up for him? And then you've got to ask who could really fit him. He's our player. He's under contract to us. But we need to be showing, when I say we, the club need to be showing these players that they do mean business, and we can't take their loyalty and commitment for granted. They're all working together. They've all got this, we want to win a trophy for the club, and they're all saying the right things. But they also know that they could get more money elsewhere. They all know that they're going to have a better chance of winning trophies elsewhere. And if you go back to the Keegan era, people left when the manager wanted them to leave, and he brought in better players. And that's how we progressed so quickly from nearly being relegated to the old second division to nearly winning the Premier League in a matter of years, matter of 2 or 3 seasons, wasn't it? So can we get up to next year challenging for the league? Yeah, if we keep the players we've got and we spend enough money in the positions that we all are aware that need to be improved. But this is why I was getting a bit annoyed last week when the players were tired, they were fatigued. They played the same amount of games as everyone else over the Christmas period. And if and when we do get the Champions League, Europa League or Conference League, they'll be playing more games again. So you can't say you're tired. They're fit lads. But could we lose one? Yes, but I don't think we will. I think if we are going to lose players, it could be those just below the elite that we've got. It could be like a Willock to get 30 million. It could be even someone like Joe Linton to get 50 million. It could be something like that to give us enough space to go out and go bang, 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 bang. Yes, we've lost a great player, but we've got better. Remember the outcry. Thankfully, there was no social media when we sold Andy Cole. And it's still probably one of my saddest days of supporting Newcastle United. But they got Les Ferdinand after that and Alan Shearer after that. But that's because we had the board that were willing to back the manager, and they were on the same, I suppose, dream as us, and they could do it. Unfortunately, we have owners who have got more wealth than any of them put together times X amount, but they can't just go and buy the players that the manager wants. So I probably contradict myself a bit in that sentence, but for me, I can't see any of the big names, the blue chip players as we call them, going, but I can see the ones underneath that being a big overhaul. We've got someone like Trippier. Is he necessary to stay? And I know I think he's been the best right back we've ever had in the club. But is he necessary to stay on the salary he's getting when he's not starting? That salary could go to a first-team starter, whether that be a right winger, whether that be a right centre-back, whether that be a goalkeeper, whether that be someone to challenge Isak or at least play understudy. There's a lot of work to be done, but it's not going to happen in one window. So we have to accept that people will go, but I think Eddie Howe will fight tooth and nail to keep his core. But if one of them comes and says to him, whether that be a Bruno, which I can't see for the life of me, but let's say that Isak will all go on with the mainstream media and says, look, I've really loved it here, and had we been in Champions League, I'd stay, but I want to go and play Champions League now. I want to do this, I want to do that. I think Eddie Howe would say, right, we're going to get the best price for you, otherwise you're staying. And they'll come to an agreement, something like that. But I would like to think before then we've tied him down to a bigger contract.
Okay, yes, I've just seen in the chat there, Barry Hogan has sent me the latest transfers. I tell you what, it's great, and it's interesting that Barry does this because, yeah, it's slowed down. Barry makes a big point about it slowing down. We've hit triple figures. It's 100 plus now, but we're at the 26th of January. It was 250 odd in the summer or something like that,
Yeah.
and that's crazy. 1-1, by the way, Aston Villa, 1. Aston Villa won, West Ham won. Good result again that for Newcastle in the grand run for Europe. Keep your emails coming in as well to nufcmatters8092@gmail.com for these tickets for Lee Clark. I'll announce it at the end of today's show. That's what I meant to say, not at the end of the week, because that's when the due is. And next question. Where are we? Yeah, we are. Sank Carell. My question is real deal right winger Ryan Shirky 21 and price is 80 million? They're talking. What will losing if we get this guy in? I've not heard that. He is on the list, I think. If Barry stands to correct us on that, but I'm pretty sure he is on the list. I'm going to broaden that really, Mitch, and it's just young players again. Just to reiterate, because Sank probably wasn't on the show when we talked about this, and I've spoken about it with Ben as well. From our perspective, bringing youngsters in is something that Newcastle United will want to do. They'll want to bring in youngsters. We've done it since the takeover. We've brought youngsters in, and that's the way of building up your academy, building up the youngsters, and hopefully finding a few gems. That'll be the remit, of course, that Mitchell will probably have from the club.
Yeah, and on the face of it, again, it's a name I'm aware of. Would tick many boxes in terms of could be chucked into the mix straight away, but is young enough to develop and grow and potentially become worth more and add value to the squad in more ways than one. I'm quite sure these are the things they're looking at, but also one thing I think Mitchell and Howe are almost 100% aligned on is character. Is this the right kind of character to add to the squad as well? And these things is equally important, heading where we're at. I would love to see refreshened up with, a new face, just to give everybody a bit of a lift. But in particular, I find it interesting. We're talking about right wing. Yeah, we've got Murphy, who statistically is genuinely doing the business. What I think we're coming round to is that Murphy is part of the solution, not part of the problem. But somebody is an alternative point of difference, a genuine game changer, be that with pace, be that with skill, be that with a combination of the two. However you want to look at it, I think that will be a fantastic addition to the squad right now, while we're on top of our game going forward. And a younger name like Cherky, yes, does make sense on the face of it to me.
Yeah, Stu, you're nodding away there.
Yeah, this Cherky, there's a lot of noise about it, but as Barry's diligently put together, there could be a lot of noise about another 100+ people. And if you listen to the press conferences and all the sounds coming out of the club, they're not going to buy anyone. But the way I've been consistent since we started talking about transfers, probably in early part of December, is it's clear that Miggy's going to be leaving, and it's clear that there's an acceptance even from Eddie Howe. You can tell the way he's wording things now. He understands that he's going. Yes, he wants to keep everyone, and he's not going to say anything different. But Miggy's been, for us, when he came in, he was a breath of fresh air. But remember, it took him, was it 70 games to score a goal for us? He's not going to be the answer to any question is, who's your right winger once you're back in the Champions League again? He'll be thanked for the goal against PSG, our first goal back at home in the Champions League for a long time. He'd be thanked for all his wildness and his running. He won't be thanked for having 1 foot. He won't be thanked for spinning around in circles. And we have to be brutal with it. Now, the reason I have constantly said we need a new right winger is because as and when Miggy goes, Jacob Murphy has no challenger. He has no replacement. So then you're going to have to start playing people out of position. Every single other position in that squad has someone who can replace them, whether it's Trippier replacing Tino, whether it's Gilly replacing Hall. You've got so many centre-backs there. You've got Barnes when fit. You've got Wilson when fit. Every single position has a substitute a reserve, for what to speak, a shadow team, except the right wing. And that will be negligence of the highest if they don't fill that position in. But this Turkey seems to be flavour of the day. Tomorrow it'll be someone else. The day after it'll be someone else. And until we actually sign someone, we might as well just not speculate about it, because if you look at Barry's list, there's probably about 30 players that would say, I'd love to have him. But we can slowly play 11. And by all accounts, and there's something that Mitch said there, it's about the player's attitude. He's got to fit it in the squad. In effect, whoever they do sign, if they sign someone this window, they're going to have to hit the ground running. They're going to have to be thrust into the first team squad. Maybe not the starting 11 straight away, but thrust into the first team squad and be capable emotionally, mentally, and physically with the hard labour, for want of a better phrase, that Eddie Howe gives them, and buy into the mentality that this team have. And it is a togetherness. So there's so many things that go into signing a player. And I'm more than certain they've got the targets. Maybe Turkey's on there, but I wouldn't think he's top of their list. I wouldn't think he's top of he's their number one priority. But then you go down the route that they just spend money getting someone for the sake of it. I understand if there's a resale value, we could buy him and sell him again in the summer, and it's not how they're doing business, is it? So I would be surprised if they signed this Turkey, because I don't think he's been one of their long-term targets. I think most people could name 2 or 3 people that would be linked with for a lot longer. That would be more realistic targets if we could get someone in this window.
All right, James says, from what I've heard, he's picked up fines, turning up late for training, squabbles with managers. Do we really need this? Eddie wouldn't touch that with a barge pole. Davey Eddie, it did cross my mind. He says, jerk chicken, it's very nice. Turkey is a maverick. Not sure he'll be Eddie's type. If you could change his attitude, you'd have a potential World Cup player on your hands. And proof is only ever in the evidence. None of the previous failures had Eddie Howe to nurture them, says Denise. People forget Miggy has only played a handful of games in his favourite position, scores for his national side, says George. And Anthony Emma's talking about Ben Arthur. I love Ben Arthur so much. My kids are called Ben and Arthur. Only issue is they are lasses. And T-Tank was asking about NUFC Matters membership. Johnny Allen, of course, who used to run that. We still see John, but he's got issues, obviously, which, we don't need to go into on here, but he's okay. We still see him. We still keep in touch with him. But he ran the membership scheme. And obviously, people got the mug, the cup, the pen, and everything like that. We did do lots of competitions through that. But John ran the website as well. He did all of that voluntarily because he loved the show. But John's no longer capable of doing that for us. So I didn't want him to have the stress with everything he's been through. So we don't have that at the moment. I'm in the process of building a new website. Will I go back to the membership that John used to run over that 3-year period? Yes, I probably will. How will I do it? I haven't come to that yet. I need the website designed. I'm just doing a simple website just so people have got an NUFC Matters website to go to. We'll go from there after that. But what I'll probably do is put a call out to people who've been previous members, ask you to email us. We've got an email address now, as you know, and we will be able to do something for you guys who, of course, supported us originally. But I don't even have the details. It was all done via John. I didn't have anything to do with that. So what we'll do is you can provide us with your membership numbers, send them over, and we will hopefully be able to do that. And as you say, Kevin, once a member, always a member, mate. Exactly. Barry, yes, lots of great suggestions, but let me get the website sorted first. Then people have got a point of contact where they can come to and we'll sort it out. But look forward to being able to announce that in due course. Media Arts are busy doing that for us over the next few weeks. So hopefully that will be ready by the end of February. Here's a little exercise for you, says Mark. Does the captain who lifted our first Premier League title already play for the team, Mitch?
There's a good question.
That's a good one, isn't it?
I'm going to say no.
Oh, there we go. There we go. No from Mitch. Stu?
It's a yes from me. Because I said 2027. So I think Bruno will still be there in 27. But I just pointed back to the dream I had that I had a dream that Bruno and Lascelles were holding a trophy aloft at Wembley. So hopefully that's in March, if not May. And I genuinely had that dream. And I think I said it on the show months back as well, didn't I, before in any cup competitions. So I'm banking on that. We'll see a trophy with black and white ribbons on it. But to win the league, I think if we can keep the core that we're talking about, make some hard decisions squad-wise, like he's a good character-wise, he's a nice lad in the dressing room, etc. We have big decisions to make, but ones that, if supported, will take us to the next level. And I think a lot quicker than what most people realise. Because if you look at our start 11, for me, it's as good as anyone's. And we've proven that against the so-called top teams this year. What we haven't got is the depth of squad, of quality to make the changes necessary that the other squads have, because they've been allowed to build more freely and over a longer period of time than we have. We are playing catch-up. We're catching up very, very quickly.
Yeah, well, I guess what happens on X Factor is when one person gives one and one person gives the other, usually the person who goes last is the one who's got to take it to deadlock if they haven't got the balls to say yes or no. So I'm going to say yeah. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. The person's already at the club. I think it'll be 2027, 100%. I think I'm going to go by 2027 as well. I think it's all going to fall in line for the anniversary of the last time we did it, 100 years. So I'm going to say yes. Not sure who it'll be. Will it be Tonali? Will it be Bruno? It remains to be seen, but why not be positive? Why not be optimistic? Okay, well done to the following people who've won the tickets for Lee Clark. They were the ones who got in first and emailed. There's a pair of tickets going to Roger Cook, who emailed us in the chat. A pair of tickets going to Rob Spires. A pair of tickets going to Dean Charlton. And a pair of tickets going to Barry Hogan. So well done, guys, for getting in. I've emailed you over the details. See you on Friday night, and we'll do another one of them on the fans forum tomorrow night.
It's a big decision there, Steve. Barry's going to have to decide which door to take, isn't he?
Yeah. Classic. James Slater says, do any of the lads know about the Adidas kit designs for next season? Gosh, more strips. We've got strips coming out with ears. We're going to be an Adidas Elite Clubs group. So what does this mean in terms of kits and design, Mitch? We might have to get your pal back on.
I would. Why not? He's. I know he's been doing a little bit more consultancy for Adidas, so that he's bound to have some snippets he can chuck into the mix. I know that I saw a rumour about one of the kits having some sort of Northumberland tartan involved with it, and I think that is going to be on one of the kits in some way, shape or form. In terms of it being elite clubs, we move from the there's two tiers to that. There's one and effectively 1A, which are the ones who get the trefoil on the third strip, and I think our third strip will have the trefoil next season. I think we've earned that right through sales. And I think that'll also mean we'll be projected into, instead of the limited edition ranges, say Gazelles they did for us, whatever that current range of trainer is for their elite clubs will be projected into that one. So I think at the minute it's a Samba that Juventus and Arsenal and Man U and Inter Miami and a few other teams have. It also means access worldwide. You suddenly start to get access to everything across the globe, not just through the club shop and through regionally in Newcastle. It's that next up level of exposure.
All right, we've got more strips than idols back in the day, says Anthony Stew.
Very true. Our strips better than United. Come to rock shots.
Does elite club mean more elite pricing? God, but if you've got the money, you're going to go and buy them, aren't you? It does mean long sleeves as well, Stu, I think, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. I don't know how Mitch was reading the rock shot slogans, but maybe that's the time for a chat for another time. But
that's because I used to live in the building, isn't it, mate?
Well, I'll just keep my own counsel on that. So we'll move forward, and regarding the strips, it's going to be very difficult for any kit designer for Newcastle United because they're releasing something in different colours and shades and sizes and every other week, aren't they? So I And I know I've said this back to the Castore days as well. I would love a yellow and blue away strip again, like the one when we won at Old Trafford, because we've got Sweden, we've got Brazilians. We've got 2 Swedes, 2 Brazilians, and for me, it would be a nod to them. And I think a yellow with a bit of blue, like the Sweden home strip, an Adidas one, I think would be a huge seller. But will there be a new design? Of course, there'll be a new design. The elite thing for me is it's a way for us to get more money in as well, because it means when I was last visiting Tenerife, I was in the airport in Madrid, and you could buy a Newcastle United shirt in the airport in Madrid when I was in transit. And when you go around the world in different places, as many people do travel, you'll see the Bayern Munichs, you'll see the Manchester Uniteds. You don't often see Newcastle's, but there will be then part of and we've been party to it by spending so much on the stuff that they've been churning out. So for us, for Adidas to say elite, it just means they get a lot of money from us. They sell a lot of clothes. We buy a lot of clubber that they're putting out. And yes, it means we get the long sleeves. That's not going to really interest us two here sitting in the Middle East. But for those back home, I'm sure it'll be beneficial. The one thing I would like to see, does the elite club mean elite prices, or does it mean they get a more favourable pricing? Because it's something that could be a huge advantage, that if they said, right, you're now an elite club and we'll sell the shirts less because we're going to sell more. I can't see it happening, but it would be a nice thing to happen.
Okay, yes, West Ham and Aston Villa still 1-1. We're coming towards the end of 90 minutes. Certainly been a bit of a feisty game, I would say. Tom says, do you think we'll get Jonathan David in this window, or we'll miss out on him? Tom, we don't speculate, as you know, on transfers on here. But look, Newcastle have been linked with him, but it's it seems to be one of those merry-go-round ones, which is going to run and run. So if we get him, we'll get him. But yeah, I think what we've learned from now, over the last couple of years, is when Newcastle signs somebody, it's usually not heard about until the person's been paraded around the pitch. Craig says Tonali's levels above Bruno. He eats up the ground and has an unbelievable stamina. That's before you get to his technical ability or reading of the game. He's the best midfielder we've had in my 50 years. Mitch, there was a question asked to Joe Allen yesterday, because he'd played with Gascoigne. Somebody said that's the best midfield player we've had since Gascoigne. I mean, that's a hell of a statement when you think we've got Bruno in the middle. We've had Gary Speed, we've had Rob Lee. We've had some unbelievable players over the last 30, 40 years. What's your feelings on Tonali? Is he up there?
Up there. I'll tell you this: the way he's going after the year out he had, he could have just disappeared, given up, mentally gone to pieces. We could have been talking about shipping him back to Italy at bargain price just to get him off the books. We're now talking about somebody who I think has the potential to be the best midfielder we've ever had. Period. You look at what he's done in the last run of games. His ability to read a game. He doesn't have to make many tackles because he intercepts the ball. He knows where it's going. He doesn't have to put his foot in because he's already got the ball and he's away with it. That move for his goal yesterday, one that I've must have watched it about 20, 30 times.
He made it happen, didn't he? He made it happen.
Yeah, it has everything from him winning the header to then that chest pass from Isak to the first time ball from Gordon, and then he takes one touch, sends the keeper the wrong way, ball's in the back of the net, good night. If that had been Real Madrid at the weekend, Sky Sports News would have it on repeat every 5 minutes. This
Had it been Manu? Had it been Manu doing it for Man United?
And so for me, he has the potential to develop into anything, because the one thing he's shown after his year out is a mental toughness that can take you all the way.
Stu, just finishing off.
Yeah, I've got to agree with what's been said. Potential. It is about potential. He has everything. You know, I've seen a few comments now. He's got a great engine. He's a great runner. Well, so is Sally Gunnell, but she's not going to do well in our midfield, is she? So he's got the temperament. He's got the ability. He's got the composure. He ticks every box. But it's okay. I see some people saying, "Oh, you can't say that because of Bruno." I recall a show a few months back when Tonali had a couple of good games in a row, and I says Newcastle have unlocked cheat code Tonali. But what it's done, it's also, don't underestimate the change in Bruno as well. He's playing with more of a swagger and more freedom. He hasn't got the responsibility of having to hold the midfield together like he did for most of last year. Bruno's playing like he did when he first come, and it's okay. We can have two heroes in the middle. And they'll both complement each other very, very well. And long may it continue. And that's the sort of players that we've been hoping for a long, long time to play for Newcastle United. So I think we should enjoy them, not compare them. But potential-wise, Tonali he's a level above, but he's dragged other people to that level as well. And that's what we need to do now. And that's what I was talking about earlier with the core, with Isak, with Tonali, with Bruno, with Gordon, with Botman, with the two fullbacks. We've got a very, very solid base of a top quality team, not just in the Premier League, but in Europe. And this is where you can drag the others with you. But by adding other quality, it reassures them, look, I am in the right place. And Tonali, to get back to the question, potentially he could be the best midfielder I've seen. I can't talk about the ones previous to that. But if it's just on natural ability, I don't think anyone will ever touch Gascoigne as long as I've got the breath of my body. But he didn't play long enough for us. Let's hope Tonali does. And if we're winning things consistently or challenging consistently, then people will want to come and play with him. And he'll just get better and better when he's got better players around him.
Great show. Thank you to the 1,200 people watching tonight. We'll never take that support for granted. 450 of you watching on YouTube, the rest of you on Twitter. Please jump over, subscribe to NUFC Matters. It is free. We do 7 shows a week. Back with the Fans Forum tomorrow night, 6 o'clock live. Take care. See you then.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Yeah.